Welcome to the 5-Pack, where we talk about the 5 things that matter, 5 things that will matter, and a daily pack rip. Here is your host, Kyle Elfrink.
Welcome in on a Monday, but for many of you, it is a holiday Monday, a Memorial Day being celebrated here in 2023. We thank all of those families and, of course, those who did indeed give the ultimate sacrifice over the many, many years to keep our country as great as it is today in 2023. Memorial Day being celebrated by all, and we are happy that you can make us part of your holiday Monday. I was looking it up today. Memorial Day has been celebrated since 1868. So we're coming up on 160 years of celebrating Memorial Day. It had been May 30th for like 100 years. It was always May 30th, May 30th. Now, of course, it is the final Monday of each and every May calendar year. Good to have you with us over the next hour. Much to get to. We're going to be hanging out with our man Heavy T, Tyler Soto, helping us out in the producer's chair. As always, we have 5 things that matter on this afternoon as we get rolling on a Monday. We have 5 things that will matter as you go into your sporting evening. And, of course, the pack break is headed your way, a set that's always going to be fun because the cards always look good. They're good quality, everything. They changed the game back in the late 80s, early 90s. We're going to take a look at some 1990 Upper Deck Baseball. This is year number 2. This is not the Ken Griffey Jr. season, the rookie card, if you will. This is year number 2, so we will get to that. We do have the opportunity of winning 1991 season tickets to the team of our choice. Now, every time I do this and I get a new pack, I love looking at the contest, and I always wonder, and we've never had this crop up on the show, but I always wonder if by some crazy, grace of God, I pulled the season ticket winner for 1991. Do I get excited or do I just get pissed off because I missed it by 32 years? That's the problem. I don't know. Somewhere there's an Upper Deck executive saying, remember back in 91, nobody ever got those season tickets. Wow, that was a great deal. We need to do that again. Anyway, 1991 Upper Deck Baseball coming your way in just a bit. As always, though, we begin our hour here on the 5-Pack by getting you up to date on what went down in the sports world. And I get it. It's a holiday weekend. I mean, if you're anything like the rest of the world, or at least America, you were probably grilling, you were hanging out, you were taking it easy. Maybe you got some good weather. Maybe you're hitting the pool for the first time in 23. You might have missed some of what went down in the sports world. But fear not, as usual here on the 5-Pack, we will get you set up. We will start with Sunday night baseball where, hey, the Braves kicked the Phillies' butt. It was an easy win. 11-4 was the final, and Matt Olson had a couple of home runs, and let's see, Ozzie Albies had 3 RBIs. Austin Riley had 3 hits. But I got to admit, the thing that mattered to me, the thing that I think matters to you today, is what we're seeing this year from Ronald Acuna. Now, you might remember last season, he came back from the injury. He was so-so. He was good, but where was the power and the explosiveness was kind of gone, and some people wondered coming into 2023, would Ronald Acuna kind of ever get back to what he was before that ACL knee injury? Well, I think it's safe to say he's getting back to where he was. Last night was another moment where Ronald Acuna just continued to total up the stats. He gets on base early, he scores early, he gets the big hit. Let's take a look back. ESPN's coverage of Sunday Night Baseball last night.
SNB, it's on Twitter. Acuna goes. Olsen fires one to right center field. Marsh is back. He looks. Wow, what a big blast off the bat of Matt Olson. His 15th of the year.
They continue to add pressure both on the base pass and...
Now Riley sends Marsh back again. He is at the wall. Lead sets over the wall. 3-2. He does it again with another single up the middle, but this time not as the leadoff man. He plates 2, give Atlanta. And I said, are you one of those guys that are okay to talk on the day you pitch? That's going to be another hit for Acuna. Down the line, into the corner. Schwarber picks it up. Now he misses it. And Acuna's firing on all cylinders to third. He's in there. Another RBI.
Nice glove work, Kyle Schwarber out in left field. RBI triple for Ron Acuna. And again, the Braves went bonkers on the Phillies. They blew them up in the first inning. Acuna ended up with 4 hits. He drove in 3, scored a couple of runs. Here's where we stand right now with Ron Acuna. Let's give you some perspective here. We are 53 games into the Major League Baseball season. We are almost exactly at the 1/3 point of the year. 162 games in total. We're 53 games in. Here's what we've got from Ron Acuna. He is aiming for the first ever, i.e., it's never been done in baseball history, the first ever 30-60 season. That would be at least 30 home runs. That would be at least 60 stolen bases. He has played every single game this year. Here's what we got. The slash line's like bonkers. He's hitting 333. He's getting on base at a 415 clip. His slug is 571. He is number 1 in the National League in OPS. He's number 1 in the National League in runs and stolen bases. He got 22 stolen bases. I mentioned the 30-60. There is one player who has ever done 30-50. That was Barry Bonds in 1990. Now, before you scoff and say, well, he was cheating, 1990 was kind of pre-Royd for Barry Bonds. That's when he was dominating for the Pirates and winning MVPs before he got out to the Bay Area, Balco, and San Francisco. So his 30-50 was very, very likely to have been legitimate. He's the only guy to ever do that. Now, Ricky Henderson, actually in 1986 and 1990 came very close to pulling off the 30-60 that Acuna is going for this season. Henderson had the stolen bases. He was well over 60 in those 2 seasons, but he finished with 28 home runs in both years. So again, Acuna's doing stuff we've never seen. And we always sit here and like we get to Memorial Day and it's, it's kind of this holiday where you say, okay, it's no longer early in the baseball season. So, a lot of times we'll get to Memorial Day and we'll look at teams in first place or, is that guy ever going to figure it out? And we say, man, well, it's 2 months into the season. Things start to matter 2 months in. This matters with Acuna. This is big time. And I was looking at the NL MVP odds this morning over at DraftKings. Check it out. Ron Acuna to win the National League MVP is even money. Plus 100. We got 4 months to go in the season. And Ron Acuna is even money. The next best odds are with Freddie Freeman, and he is at plus 1,000. So you got Acuna in effect. I mean, in the wagering world, Ron Acuna is lapping the field for NL MVP. Like, that's crazy. Plus 100. And Freddie Freeman's number 2 at plus 1,000. Now, as I always say, we got a lot of baseball still to go. We got 4 months. There's some long shots on that board. If you play the futures market, probably take a look at those guys. I get it. Acuna, historical. And maybe we'll wake up in early October and he's done the 30-60. And probably if he goes 30-60, he's going to win that MVP. So I understand why the odds are there. But then you start to think a lot can happen in 4 months' time. We've even seen Ron Acuna himself go down with an injury before. So I would look at those odds and maybe we'll find a good payoff a bit lower in those NL MVP odds. As for the Braves, they are up against the Oakland A's tonight. Atlanta making that trip. Kind of weird that they would play on Sunday night in Atlanta, East time zone, and then fly all the way to Oakland, California, and have a game the very next night. Like, I'm guessing here. I'm trying to play this out. That game last night started at like 7:30 Eastern. Don't know exactly when it ended, but I would guess around 10 o'clock Eastern. You go through the whole thing, cleaning up, doing the media stuff, getting on the bus, getting to the airport. You probably don't get to the airport till like 11:30, 12 o'clock Eastern. You fly all the way across the country. I'm just guessing here. You probably land in Oakland at like 6 a.m. Eastern. You take a nap and you go to the ballpark. Like, they're playing tonight at 8:07 Eastern tonight. And of note with the Braves is that Mike Soroka is going to be pitching for Atlanta tonight. Mike Soroka has not pitched for the Braves in a regular season game since August of 2020. And he's had like double Achilles surgeries. He's blown out the Achilles twice. Been a long road back for Mike Soroka. He's up against Nick Blackburn and the Oakland A's tonight. 8:07 for that first pitch. A lot of eyes on Soroka. A lot of eyes as well should be on Ronald Acuna having a fabulous, fabulous first 50-plus games for the Atlanta Braves. Let's go to item number 2 on our What Matters list. And let's see, a week ago, we were getting set for the Dodgers and the Braves. LA had to come into Atlanta, kind of a National League showdown. And then last week, on Friday, when we were doing the show here, I got you set for the weekend of the Dodgers and the Tampa Bay Rays. The weekend was a fun one. Series eventually does go to the Tampa Bay Rays. Yesterday was a back and forth kind of crazy game. It started with a lot of offense from the Tampa hitters.
Paredes, he stands in with 2 more men on base. Teams have traded 3-run seconds, but the Rays aren't done yet. Swing on a line drive to deep left field. Taylor back to the warning track. It's off the wall. Caroms back towards center. Here is Lau to score. Here is Ramirez to score. And Paredes with a 2-run double, and the Rays have a 6-3 lead.
The Rays have now scored 6 runs already. We're in the second.
Brady has 3 RBIs already, and this one is hit in the air to left. Drifting back is Thompson, still back, and he runs out of room. Isaac Paredes, the home run, and he's got 4 driven in already.
So at that point, it's 9-7. You might have noticed on that graphic there, courtesy of Peacock, that was the 4th inning. 9-7 in the 4th inning on Sunday morning. It was the early game they were playing. Well, the Dodger bats did not give up. They also made a little noise after trailing early.
This one is hit well in the air to left. Martinez got it all. J.D. Martinez, and it's 10-9.
Well, the Dodgers are 13-1 when they hit 3 home runs. Well, now they have their 4th, and they're still trailing. We haven't even entered the third 3 innings, and it's 10-9.
And this one is hit well by Chris Taylor. Gone! Back to back. For the second time in the game go the Dodgers. Chris Taylor's been involved in both of them.
Taylor with the home run there, tied it up at 10 apiece. That was in the 6th inning, by the way. 10-10 through the first 6 innings. Might I add, Josh Fleming, the guy who gave up both those home runs there to J.D. Martinez and Chris Taylor. Check out his line yesterday. Josh Fleming got the start. Josh Fleming pitched 6 innings. Gave up 10 runs. 8 of them were earned. He allowed 12 hits. He gave up 5 home runs. You want to talk about covering for the bullpen, which is usually Josh Fleming's job as is. But last night, or yesterday, I should say, they just left him out there. I mean, who in the world pitches 6 innings in a Major League Baseball game while giving up 12 hits, while giving up 5 home runs, while giving up 10 runs overall? It's like Little League Baseball, you know, when you had a pitch rule and you just couldn't use anybody else. So you just left the kid out there to get badgered and beaten. Kind of what I felt like Josh Fleming was doing. So we're 10-10 going into the 7th. Now, Wander Franco got an RBI ground out. That made it 11-10. And lo and behold, somehow, some way, we went to the 9th inning with the game still sitting at 11-10 and the Rays trying to take care of the victory.
Dick with Jason Adam. Jammed him. Adam makes the catch himself, and the Rays take this one 11-10 and take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers.
Good weekend for the Tampa Bay Rays. Their record on the season, 39-16. That is a pace for 115 victories. Now, you saw the save there by Jason Adam. Worth noting, Rays were planning to go with Pete Fairbanks in the 9th inning, but he suffered a bit of a hip injury. I think he said his hip locked up while he was warming up in the bullpen, so he was unable to go. So that is yet another pitching injury that the Rays may have to deal with. And if you've been following this team, we know about the victories and the great offense. Their pitching staff has been ransacked by injuries. Now, the good news is over the weekend, Tyler Glasnow finally made his season debut, 4 1/3 innings. He struck out 8. He looked pretty good. He looked like Tyler Glasnow in that game. So good to have him back. Now, both these teams depart with the Rays taking the 2 of 3. Both teams, the Rays and the Dodgers, still very heavy favorites. Right now to make the postseason, Tampa is minus 2,500. The Dodgers are plus 3,500. Tampa's on the road today in Wrigley. They're going to have the rookie Taj Bradley going up against Marcus Stroman. That is a 2:20 first pitch. And the Dodgers are back home. They are taking on Washington later tonight, 9:10. Trevor Williams going up against the rookie Bobby Miller. One other note with the Dodgers, still sitting in first place, still with a very strong record. They survived the gauntlet of the Braves and the Rays. They're back home. They get the Nationals tonight. They did have a bit of bad news with Julio Urias. Urias was hoping to throw from the bullpen over the weekend, but was unable to do so. He said he's still sore. So his IL stint's going to be a little bit longer than just the 10 to 15 days as the Dodgers try to strengthen their rotation. Both these teams, Tampa and LA, kind of dealing with some pitching injuries. Let's go to item number 3 on our 5 things that do indeed matter on this Memorial Day holiday. And we go out west. We go to Seattle, where the Mariners had a great week at home. They had 7 games this week in front of the home fans. They end up winning 6 of the 7. Victory number 6 came off the bat of Eugenio Suarez on Sunday. You'd think they made the playoffs again with that home run. Quite the call there, courtesy of Root Sports Northwest. Victory, walk-off style for Seattle. They take all 3 games from Pittsburgh. Pirates, as expected, starting to fade a bit. But for Seattle, great week. They're now 28-25. They are still 5.5 games out in the very competitive AL West. I know a lot of people are paying attention to the American League East and how tight that is 1 through 5. The AL West can't go 1 through 5, but they can go 1 through 4. Oakland's not going to ever get there. They've lost 11 in a row, but Seattle's right there, 5.5 back. And if you want to look at the Mariners, the big key here has been starting pitching. And I kind of thought this going into the season. A lot of people kind of celebrated Houston's staff, which was deserved, but without Verlander and then relying on a couple of rookies, I was more in tune with the Mariners. Now, Houston's staff has suffered injuries. Like Urquidy's out, McCullers is still out. Got a couple of guys out there in that rotation. Seattle's been healthy, and Seattle's been really good with their rotation. If you look at the numbers, every single starter, all 5 of them, have at least 3 victories. There aren't a lot of teams in baseball who can say they have 5 pitchers with at least 3 wins from their starting rotation. 4 of the 5 pitchers have a whip under 110. 4 of the 5 starting pitchers for the Mariners have an ERA under 3.5. 4 of the 5 starting pitchers have a K to walk ratio that is better than 5-1. Now, I don't want to pick on the 5th guy, but it's Marco Gonzalez. He's kind of the laggard here, which he's the 5th starter. You're not expecting great things from Marco Gonzalez. You just want him to eat innings. But those other 4 guys are looking great, and that would be Bryce Miller, the rookie, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Luis Castillo. Guys are pitching lights out, so they have been critical to the bottom line for Seattle. Big series opening up for the Mariners tonight. The Yankees are in town, 1-3 against New York. It's a 9:40 first pitch tonight. Going for the Mariners is that rookie, Bryce Miller, who has started his career with 3 victories in 3 starts, so he's looking to remain perfect. On the other side, Domingo Germán is set to make the start for the Yankees. He is just coming off his 10-game suspension for the sticky stuff, so he's going to be out there tonight for the Yankees. Big run for the Mariners after the 3 against New York. They will have a 10-day road trip, so they've been killing it at home. Again, 6 of 7 over the past week. They've got 3 with the Yankees. Then they go on the road to Texas, who's currently in first place in the AL West, San Diego, and Anaheim. I was a bit surprised to look at the updated postseason odds for Seattle. Even with this good run, they are listed at plus 190 to make the postseason. Not to win the AL West, just to make it in October into the postseason, plus 190. I really like that number on that one there. Speaking of the AL West, let's talk about the team that is not at the top. No, it's not Houston on this Memorial Day. Still in first place is actually Texas, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Astros. Yesterday, they were beaten up on the Oakland A's. Who doesn't beat up on the Oakland A's? The Astros on Sunday launching 7 home runs against the pitiful A's pitching staff. And when you're hitting that many home runs, I don't care who you are, suddenly guys get involved and guys hit home runs that don't normally get involved, that don't normally hit home runs. Therefore, I give you Jose Abreu with his first home run of the season.
Has more plate appearances in the big leagues this year without a home run than this man, Abreu.
Abreu hits one high in the air, deep to left field, all the way back. Brown, he's near the wall. He jumps, that's gone!
There you go!
Jose Abreu's first home run as an Astro, and he's sprinting around the bases like he has never hit one before. He is going to fly into home plate, and the Astros lead 7-1. He can't wait to celebrate.
Look at this crew. They love this guy. This is awesome.
I guess that's one way to say. I get it. I mean, you're Jose Abreu. I ran through the numbers a couple of weeks ago here on the show. Like, this guy has averaged over the previous 6 or 7 years. It's like 28 home runs is his average. That home run right there, his first of the year. It's his first with Houston. He is having a truly bad year. And it's kind of crazy. He's still batting 4th or 5th, mainly 5th right now for the Astros, but he started the year as the number 4 hitter. It's been rough. Everybody loved that move with the Astros going out and signing Abreu. Right now, his on-base percentage is .269. But the slugging, Jose Abreu, again, 28 home runs a year. His slugging is .265. I mean, it's impossible how bad he's been this year. He's got like 19 RBIs while hitting 4th and 5th all season long. I would have felt really awful for Jose Abreu if he had slid there into the on-deck circle and like rolled over on his ankle celebrating his first home run. That's only his 2nd home run in like his last 102 games. So sometimes we see power disappear, and certainly as you age, you're going to lose. But my goodness, it's fallen off a cliff with Jose Abreu. Houston's still chasing Texas. They are 2 games back of the Rangers. Texas is 31-21. Houston's going to be in Minnesota tonight, or actually hosting Minnesota tonight. Rangers are on the road at Detroit, and we'll have a bit more on that series coming up later in the show. Current odds to win the AL West, they are still favoring Houston by a pretty significant margin. -145 are the odds on the Astros to win the American League West. Texas is currently in first place, plus 225. So if you're a believer in the Rangers, you can get those numbers over on your DraftKings Sportsbook. Okay, we've hit you with a lot of baseball. There were other things going on for your Sunday holiday weekend, most notably, if it's a Sunday, if it's the Sunday before Memorial Day, what goes on every Sunday right before Memorial? That would be the Indianapolis 500. Yes, a little auto racing on today's 5-pack. In Indy, it was running number 107 of the Indianapolis 500, and they took it down to the wire. We get to show you some last lap excitement courtesy of yesterday's race. Here it is.
Flag flies at the speedway. Hello is on the inside of Rossi, but Eriksson has bolted. Eriksson sprints away from Joseph Newgarden and is doing what he did a year ago.
The 2nd year in a row we see him unleashing the dragon as we see almost contact between Palou and Ferrucci. Eriksson leads out a 1.
Ferrucci threw a shoulder at Alex Palou and said, "Don't you dare." Ferrucci trying to get a draft off Newgarden and Eriksson, but Newgarden with a monster run off turn 2.
Joseph Newgarden has never won the Indianapolis 500, and he's ahead on this last lap. Joseph Newgarden, is this the moment when the pain ends?
By one.
The drought, is it over for Joseph Newgarden, or does Marcus Eriksson have something?
By 2.
Team Penske at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Joseph Newgarden finally wins the Indianapolis 500. It's the captain's 19th win, Newgarden's first.
I gotta say, that was kind of exciting. I'm not a racing aficionado. My guess is many of you are not. But that was exciting. Like, that was fun. that was speed. I don't know if I can do 500 miles of it on a Sunday morning, but it was exciting there at the end. Joseph Newgarden with the win. He is a two-time champ in the series. He's won the IndyCar Series twice, the season title. But as they noted there in the footage, courtesy of ABC, he was winless in the Indianapolis 500, 0 for 12 in his career before winning that race yesterday. And you might have noticed, I was watching this morning, and two things, a lot of things stood out. But you heard the guys in the booth mention he's doing the dragon. I was like, huh. Again, I don't know a lot about racing, but I was like, what's the dragon? And then I noticed as I'm watching that highlight, as Niswonger is trying to, or Newgarden, I should say, is trying to catch up. You see that weave going on. The guy in the front was kind of weaving and like really almost, it looked like he was going to make a pit stop a couple of times on that last lap. That was the dragon. And the whole reason they're doing that weave is so that the man chasing you cannot get your draft. Now, you saw it even with the leader trying to pull off the dragon. We still saw Newgarden manage to get past him on the last lap. Now, there was a little bit of controversy, too. They had like 3 red flags come out pretty late in the race. And then they did like a 2-lap restart. I think the final restart was with 2 laps to go. So it was fun. It was exciting. That was the fastest Indianapolis 500 ever, at least in terms of the average MPH for the 33-card field. So there you go. Exciting times. And again, auto racing is not what it used to be. Like, I do recall as a child of the 80s and the 90s, that Sunday before Memorial Day, yeah, we had the Indy 500 on. Yesterday, I didn't get the TV on. I didn't even think about the Indianapolis 500 until I saw it on the crawl at the bottom of the screen last night. Like, oh yeah, the Indy. But still a huge event. I have been to the racetrack, the Speedway, once, and I don't know if they still do this. I went to the Speedway many years ago. But if you go to Indianapolis, it's like a place you gotta go. But I do recall, and maybe they've changed this, but you watch the the drivers go around that track at like, I don't know, 230 miles an hour, whatever the number is. I rode around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at probably about 35 miles an hour on a yellow school bus. Seriously. That's how they did it. And the track is like 2.5 miles or something. So, kind of putzing around that track, and they stop on the brick, the finish line. Definitely worth it. And maybe the school bus has been retired. I think it's been about 30 years ago since I was at the Speedway. So they probably have retired that school bus. Maybe they do a more exciting way of taking you around the track. But congratulations, Joseph Newgarden, getting that win yesterday in the Indianapolis 500. Okay, those are the 5 things that matter at this very moment. When we return on the 5-pack, we will get you set for what's going to be a fun Memorial Day. We got a lot of baseball. We have some more auto racing of the NASCAR variety. And oh yeah, the NHL and NBA playoffs are still going on. And in the NBA, there is a chance we may see something occur tonight that has not occurred in the history of the National Basketball Association. I'll tell you what that is next, right here on the Better Sports Network.
Welcome back to the 5-Pack. Next up, the 5 things that will matter. Here's Kyle Elfrink.
Okay, we welcome you back in on this Memorial Day holiday. Kyle Elfrink hanging out with you on the Better Sports Network. Do want to remind you, later tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, we have got the Pub Trivia Bettercast coming your way. The guys from Front Yard Fantasy are going to be hitting you up with a little trivia fun. Prizes to be won, bragging rights to be celebrated. Going to be fun tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern. I believe the topic is something to do maybe with Spider-Man. So if you're into the comics world, they're going to somehow connect like Spider-Man to fantasy football. I don't know. They're going to do it, or at least football trivia. So tune in tonight. You've got Simon, Joey, and Tim from Front Yard Fantasy, 8 o'clock Eastern. You can also chat live with everybody in the community, so do check it out. You can download the app. As always, the Better Sports app for free. Whether you go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, you are good to go. Again, that's 8 o'clock Eastern tonight, and who knows, maybe as you're sitting there and answering the trivia questions on the TV, you'll probably have the basketball game tonight, right? That Celtics Heat game? I'm guessing you will. Let us start there with the 5 things that will matter. It is Game 7 tonight between the Celtics and the Heat, taking place up in Boston, Massachusetts. If you were with us last week, or you've been alive for the last week, you're probably wondering, wait a second, wasn't this series supposed to be over like 5 days ago? Yeah, I think it was. After the Heat went up 3-0, it's like, okay, this sucker's over. Let's just get ready for Miami and Denver, right? Well, not so fast. Not so fast. The Celtics won Game 4 in Miami. No one really cared. Game 5, though, went to the Boston Celtics. And both those games, Game 4 and Game 5, relative blowouts for the Boston Celtics. So all of a sudden, we had to have Game 6 with the Miami Heat looking to close out the Boston Celtics. Well, if you missed it over the weekend, let's show you how Game 6 ended in Miami on Saturday night.
It's off the smoke for the 7th game. Can have been tipped in, but the buzzer sounded. The light was on. It'll be reviewed.
I don't think he got that in time. Great effort by Derek White.
And didn't I say you have...
Oh, they're saying on the floor, they're counting it.
You have to protect the offensive rebounding.
Oh, he got rid of it. That's a Celtic win, and we're going to Game 7.
The Celtics are going to win. There's a Game 7 back in Boston.
And it'll be tonight, 8:30 Eastern on TNT. A perfect way. You hang out at the pool all day, maybe do some picnicking, some grilling. Then you settle in. 8:30 tonight, a big Game 7 between Boston and Miami. You probably have heard the numbers, but let's give them to you again. Teams that go up 3-0 in the history of the NBA playoffs are 150-0. Let me say that again. If you get up 3-0 in your best-of-7 series, you win that series 150 out of 150 times. The Celtics, if they were to pull off the win tonight, would be the first team in NBA playoff history to ever come back from being down 3-0. Now, I don't know. It's surprising to me. The Celtics are heavily favored in this game by 7.5. And I get it. They're the home team, Game 7, momentum, all that stuff. But I'm very surprised that they're favored by 7.5. Of course, one thing they've done here of late is kind of slow down the runaway Jimmy Butler train. Like the other night in that loss to Boston, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo were a combined 9 for 37. One of the key components here in the last 3 games that Boston's won is they've managed to defensively force Adebayo and Butler to work for their shots, to not get the easy looks. And we saw it in Game 6. It was a huge effort by the Boston defense. So they'll have to bring it tonight. Here's Butler talking following the Saturday night loss to the Celtics.
Lost, so we still got a job to do at the end of the day. And we will be in this thing together. Home, away, on the road. And if, like I told the guys on the bench, I told the guys in the locker room that if I play better, we're not even in this position. honestly speaking. And I will be better, and that's what makes me smile because those guys follow my lead. So when I'm playing better, I think we're playing.
Yep. So we'll see if Jimmy Butler and the Heat can kind of avoid infamy, if you will. Again, 8:30 tonight on TNT. By the way, home teams in game number 7 has nothing to do with the 3-0 lead, but just home teams in game 7 are 111-36. So if you're at home, big time favorite in game 7. Now, we've been here before with Boston, but Boston has been a real Jekyll and Hyde team this postseason. Like, you need to go back and read the headlines, read the clips, like up, down, all over the place. And obviously, like a week ago, they're down 3-0. Everybody's hanging them in effigy. They're throwing them 6 feet under. Now, all of a sudden, they're a 7.5-point favorite tonight against the Miami Heat. Should be fun. Again, 8:30 the tip-off. You can catch it on TNT. Now, that is not the only playoff action that we have tonight. We've got to go to the NHL, where that series is still ongoing in the Western Conference. Talking about the Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars. If you missed it on Saturday night, Dallas avoided elimination for a second straight night. They were down 3-0 in their series. They won game 4. Saturday night, they win 4-2 against Vegas. Notable in that game, Ty Dellandrea. Why am I telling you about Ty Dellandrea? Ty Dellandrea had 2 third-period goals to get Dallas the win. He didn't even dress in the first 2 games of this series. So Dallas gets the win in Game 5. Tonight is game number 6. And if you were with us last week on the 5-pack, we were talking about when Dallas fell down 3-0. You might recall they also lost their captain, Jamie Benn. They lost Jamie Benn because he lost his head, and he had an illegal cross-check on Mark Stone of the Knights. Got a 2-game suspension. So to rewind the clock, Dallas was down 3-0, and they didn't have their captain, Jamie Benn. Well, again, they won game 4. They won game 5. Tonight is game 6. They're back in front of their home fans, and their head coach, Pete DeBoer, is happy to have Jamie Benn back on the ice for tonight.
Sometimes human nature, there's a tendency to take a breath now, because Jamie's back and we've gotten through that adversity, and we can't do that. Now you can see the finish line, and we've got to make sure we take care of business and give ourselves a chance to cross it.
On the other side is Bruce Cassidy of the Las Vegas Knights. They've been here before. They've actually been in the playoffs a lot over the preceding 5 years. They've had a couple of comebacks. They've had some challenges, as you might expect, even earlier this year, going on the road to Edmonton and eliminating the Oilers. Bruce Cassidy talked about the challenge that his squad has tonight going to Dallas.
Went through this a few years ago. They know what's at stake. So teams don't roll over this time of year when they get this far. So it's a little bit about having the composure to make the right play as well. It's not all about urgency, but you got to win your puck. But like, I'll use Barbie's goal as an example. Like, we win a puck battle, right? Jack wins a puck battle, and all of a sudden we're there second. We win a race. We attack the net. Is that urgency, or is that just winning your puck battles? Win your races, win your battles. That's what I've said all year with our, how we want to play, and we do. We're a very good team. So we didn't win enough battles and enough races. So that's something that we're going to have to do better.
Win the battles, win the races. Tonight, 8 o'clock, ESPN will have the Game 6 between the Stars and the Knights. Money line tonight has Dallas at -130. On the flip side, Golden Knights are +110. So Vegas is expecting a 7th game, which would be a couple of nights from now in Vegas. Now, it's worth noting, since we just came off that Celtics story, again, Dallas was down 3-0. They're about halfway there. They've won 2. They got to win 2 more. Not to say it's easier in the NHL to come back from 3-0, but 3 teams have actually done it. So it's not unprecedented what Dallas is trying to do. But again, they're only halfway there as they get set for the skate tonight. Let's move to our third item on what will matter for today. And we have talked a lot about terrible baseball teams here on the 5-pack. Like, just in the last week, I've got you caught up to date on how bad the A's are and all the Fs they are bringing in. We talked about the Royals, who, because the A's are so bad, the Royals have kind of been overlooked as to how bad they've been. Another thing we touched on last week is the fact that the Washington Nationals are surprisingly competitive. They're not good. They're not going to shake up the National League East, but they're competitive. They aren't terrible. Well, let me introduce you to another team that was not supposed to be that competitive. They weren't supposed to shake up the standings too much. The team I'm going to introduce you to is the very hot and now just one game out of first place Detroit Tigers. Did you know I was going to bring up the Detroit Tigers? Let's take a look at their walk-off victory on Sunday.
Lifts it, center field. Roderick going back. This should be good enough. He makes the grab. The Tigers are going to win it. Eric Haas with a sacrifice fly. A series win for Detroit. Yes!
Is he getting covered in rosin there? And we moved on from the bucket of Gatorade and water. Now we're throwing, is that lime? I don't even know what they're throwing on Eric Haas there. Victory yesterday. Tigers have now won 5 of 7. Now, before we get carried away, again, they're a game out of first place in the AL Central. They are still 25 and 26. So you put them in any other division in baseball, and we're not talking about we're saying, wow, can you believe the Tigers are almost 500 on Memorial Day? Like, that's, to their credit. I don't think many people had that in their Detroit Tigers bingo card, if you will. But entering today, they're a game out. AJ Hinch, the old guy with the Astros, he's the manager in Detroit, and says he really likes what he's got going with this Tigers team right now.
And on everything we're doing, that's as fun of a clubhouse as you're going to find. And the players are really coming to the ballpark every day. Number one, looking forward to it. Number two, prepared to win. That's all you can ask for as a manager.
Bally Sports out of Detroit with the Hinch footage there, as well as that walk-off win for the Tigers. Today, they will be hosting Texas Rangers, another surprising team. So that's kind of a stunning Memorial Day game you might care about. Nathan Eovaldi going up against Matt Boyd. As for the first place team, that's the Minnesota Twins. We don't want to forget them. The Twins, though, are struggling. Their last 12 games, Minnesota is 4-8. And they're going to be in Houston later today. Check out the run that the Twins have upcoming. They got 3 games in Houston. They follow that with a 4-game home set against Cleveland. After that, 3 at Tampa and 3 at Toronto. So you look at 13 games here. You got a road trip to Houston, road trip to Tampa, road trip to Toronto. That's difficult. I know Cleveland's been down this year, but it's a very critical 4-game set home against Cleveland this weekend. There is a chance there for Cleveland to totally get back in this race by the time that series rolls around this weekend. So that's what we're dealing with. Looking at the AL Central odds, here's what we got. This is as of this moment. Minnesota's minus 215 to win the division. That's a heavy favorite, minus 215. Cleveland is plus 370. The White Sox are plus 900. Those pesky Tigers, who are 1 game out of first place right now, they are plus 950 to win the AL Central. There aren't a lot of passengers on that hype train for the Detroit Tigers. Plus 950. Remember, Memorial Day. This is when we say, okay, it's summertime. It matters now. Detroit's 1 game out. Plus 950. If you cared about the Royals, by the way, plus 25,000 to come back and win the AL Central. Ain't gonna happen. Okay, moving away from the world of baseball, let's go to item number 4. That does matter. If you caught us on Friday, I signed off at 1 o'clock Eastern. A scant 12 minutes later, I checked the timestamp, believe me. 12 minutes after I signed off for the week, after I sent you into your holiday weekend. Get some big news out of Arizona. Got some big news from the gridiron. DeAndre Hopkins had been released. So we went into the weekend, and all of a sudden, DeAndre Hopkins is available. So as we begin a new week, where's he going to end up? Where is D-Hop going to end up? Now, you might wonder, and I feel I have to remind people of this all the time. DeAndre Hopkins is still pretty good. DeAndre Hopkins had a good season last year, but folks, it does not matter in the NFL. Like we scratch our head and say, why in the world would a team give up on DeAndre Hopkins? Well, contracts, man, salary caps. Guy doesn't want to be there. I don't care what DeAndre Hopkins said 2 weeks ago. He wasn't interested in sticking around in Arizona. The Cardinals tried to trade him. They couldn't. Why did nobody want DeAndre Hopkins? Okay, the cost, yeah, obviously. But his contract, it's not palatable to teams. He's making too much money. He doesn't fit with a lot of these teams that would be interested in somebody like DeAndre. Just doesn't fit. He's had suspensions. He's had injuries. He's in his 30s. So eventually the Cardinals, they saw the writing on the wall and they released him. You saw the graphic there. Teams that might be interested in DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe we can pop that up again. Kansas City and Buffalo are listed by everybody. Baltimore, New England as well. Now, most of these teams, most everybody who's been rumored to be connected to D-Hop, they got salary cap issues. Now, I will say, in the NFL, the salary cap does not matter. There are a lot of ways that you can maneuver around a ceiling in the NFL. It doesn't really exist. So DeAndre Hopkins will have to take a pay cut. He may have to have a very incentive-heavy deal. But you look at teams like Kansas City and certainly Buffalo, those two teams are cap issues. The Chargers, I saw a number over the weekend where not this year, but for next year, the Chargers are like $60 million over the cap. And that is before they give a new contract to Justin Herbert. So where does he end up? New England was on that graphic there. The Patriots have the need. Bill Belichick's a fan of DeAndre Hopkins, and they actually do have cap room. Now, are they the best team? No, I mean, the Ravens are better, the Chiefs, there's more of that Super Bowl chance to win, if you will, which is crazy, those teams over New England, but that's kind of where we're at in 2023. So New England's kind of got the easiest path. The hang up there is that the current Patriots OC is Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien was DeAndre Hopkins' head coach at Houston when Bill O'Brien traded DeAndre Hopkins to Arizona. And the rumor back then was that DeAndre Hopkins didn't really want to work with Houston, didn't want to work with Bill O'Brien, wanted to go to Arizona. I will add one other part here to this whole storyline with Hopkins. Take a look at Arizona. And the expectations are very, very low for Arizona. But remember, you gave that huge contract to Kyler Murray before last season. Since then, Kyler Murray has played bad. Kyler Murray has gotten hurt. The head coach has gotten fired. The GM, I believe, has gotten fired. And DeAndre Hopkins has now been traded. Kyler Murray got that big deal. And now everything, less than a year later, everything has changed in Arizona. And there is a lot riding on Kyler Murray to not only get healthy for the start of the season, but for him to show certain and quick growth this year. You think when you sign a long-term contract like Murray did less than a year ago, I'm set. I'm staying here. Look, I got a commitment from the franchise. Not so. Things have changed. A lot has changed in less than a year's time there in the desert. Finally, our fifth item that matters today, it's a quick one. We gave you auto racing in the previous segment. Might as well give you some auto racing here because if you're not a baseball fan, and that could be some of you, what are you going to have on the tube today? You got to wait for Dallas and Vegas tonight. You got to wait for Boston and Miami tonight. Let me take you to the Coca-Cola 600. That's right, a little NASCAR. They were rained out yesterday. I think they were supposed to race under the lights last night. They were rained out in Charlotte. So they're racing today. 3 o'clock Eastern. Fox will have it. Looking at the odds, you've got Kyle Larson as a very, very heavy favorite. He is plus 350. William Byron plus 700. Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott plus 850. Kyle Busch plus 900. Those are your top picks. 600 miles of racing on this Memorial Day. And I always hear this from people. 600 miles. I've done that before. Yeah, you've done it at 80 miles an hour on the highway, where a lot of times there's no cars around you. Try doing it at 200 miles an hour with like this much space between you and the car in front of you. Try it that way. And try doing it at those speeds for like 4.5 hours. And going in circles with no pit stops and no roadside attractions to stop at. 600 miles. I will say, I'm not a NASCAR guy, but I do appreciate what it takes. to survive 600 miles like the guys are going to have later today. Again, 3 o'clock on Fox for the Coca-Cola 600. Okay, final break for us. When we come back on BSN, it is time for a pack rip. 1990 Upper Deck Baseball. It's coming your way next, right here on the 5-Pack.
Anybody who's watching this, getting ready for the rookie draft, so let's do an all-out blitz on this. Should you be drafting for need, or should you be drafting for talent? And I'll give you an example. Oftentimes, I have pretty good receivers. My receiver core is usually really good for my dynasty teams. My running back core, usually not so bueno. I don't know if I just focus on receivers and tight ends too much, but my running backs, I usually need players here. If I am sitting at like the 103, the 104, the 105, should I be, reaching on a guy like Zach Charbonnet? Or should I be looking at drafting guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba or Dalton Kincaid or Jordan Addison, stuff like that? How do you handle weighing drafting for need versus talent for rookie drafts, Pat?
Generally, I think it makes sense to go with the talent and, like talent over need. And I do think, best ball drafts are a little differently because you can't make moves in season. But in managed leagues, whether it's redraft or dynasty, I think positional balance is like the most overrated thing in fantasy. You can make trades, go with the talent, go with the value on the draft board, and worry about positional balance later on.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Better Sports Network.
Time now for the Daily Pack Rip on the 5-Pack with Kyle Elfrink.
Okay, good to have you with us. Final few moments for us on this Memorial Day holiday. Whatever you're doing today, hopefully you're safe and hopefully you're eating some good food, hanging out with family and friends, having a grand old time. As we can say, summer officially begins. Do remember, at least at some point later today, to remember those who, in effect, gave the ultimate sacrifice to let us enjoy a day like this, and certainly to let us enjoy stupid things like opening up packs of baseball cards. We've got the 1990 Upper Deck that is coming your way in today's pack rip. I noticed today one of the most valuable cards in this set is, you guessed it, King Griffey Jr. That's not the rookie for King Griffey Jr. It's his second-year card. There's actually an Air version of the King Griffey Jr. 1990 Upper Deck, and you'd never guess it. There on the Air version of the Griffey Jr. card, and there is copyright information that is missing. You might be saying, what? I'll explain as we go through this pack, but let's get rolling. We start with the popular hologram. Ah, yes, San Francisco Giants. There it is. You'd get one of these in every single pack of 1990 Upper Deck. Okay, very attractive set. Let's see what we got here. This is funny. The first card I pull is John Smiley, who was a solid pitcher. He was like the Robin to Doug Drabeck's Batman back in the day. And I say this is fascinating to pull John Smiley because just 2 days ago, I was talking to my older brother, who's a bit of a baseball fan. He's busy with life and everything, but still follows the game. And we were talking for some reason about Drew Smiley. And he said, Drew Smiley, how old is he? And he was thinking I was referencing John Smiley from the 90s. And I go, no. It's not John Smiley. John Smiley, let's see. In 2023, John Smiley would be 58 years old. He'd be like Satchel Paige if he were the Smiley still pitching in baseball. But he was not. Left-hander there with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Here's another Pirate. Remember, this one, the Pirates were good. You had Smiley, you had Drabeck, you had Bonilla, you had Bonds, you had Jose Lind, second baseman. He was a fun one to have, Jose Lind. Here's another Jose Uribe of the shortstop. Great on the back of Upper Deck, man. Even though this isn't a Darryl Strawberry card, that's Jose Uribe making the tag at second base. But you get the full-colored back of the baseball card. For instance, you'd get this guy, Paul Kilgus. Paul Kilgus is a pitcher, but look, on the back of his card, you could have him trying to hit. He's even got the donut. Man, this guy was serious about hitting. Here he is as a pitcher. Nothing special for the Cubs. Nothing but a middle reliever there. Juan Berenguer. He was a reliever for the Twins. Actually, a pretty effective one, Juan Berenguer. Up next is a perennial Cy Young candidate throughout the 90s. In fact, he eventually made the Hall of Fame, Tom Glavine. You know, we've been pulling a lot of cards from the late 80s and early 90s. This is our first Glavine I think we've come across. 1989, which, you know, this 90 set, you know, recaptures the 89 season. That was Glavine's breakthrough. In 1989, 14 wins, had a 3.7 ERA. The year before, going 14-8. In 1988, Tom Glavine was 7-17, and he had a lot of this happening, being removed, and he had to walk off the field. Man, here's an old codger, Jerry Royce. Man, he was around baseball forever. I mostly remember Jerry Royce for being really terrible in the 1985 playoffs against the St. Louis Cardinals. I think it was Game 4. He just got blasted by the Cardinals. This is a Collectors Club Oral Hershiser. This was a play off the Donruss Diamond Kings. Every team would get one of these painted images of a guy from their roster, and then the back was the checklist for the team. So you get Oral Hershiser on the front, sharp-looking card, and then on the back, the checklist. I always wondered if people actually checked them off. I don't know. Jeff Brantley. Love listening to Jeff Brantley in the Cincinnati Reds booth. It's like he's sitting on the back porch spitting sunflower seeds. He's a different listen if you catch Reds baseball on the radio. Here is Eddie Williams, third baseman for the White Sox. Back in the day, there was a little bit of hype on Eddie Williams, but he really turned into a bunch of nothing. Kind of came up with some publicity, but didn't turn into much with the White Sox. Mike Fitzgerald, backup first baseman for the Montreal Expos. Next, and boy, this is Upper Deck. Here's what Upper Deck could do. Check out that Wade Boggs card. You weren't getting this from Topps. You weren't getting this from Donruss. What is that, 4 photos there of Wade Boggs? Love it. And on the back, you get him with Bo Jackson at the All-Star game. Here's catcher Bo Diaz of the Cincinnati Reds. Pete Harnish, pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles. And then we've had this guy before, Storm Davis. There's only one Storm, isn't there? I mentioned that Griffey Air card. Let me see if you can see this. Right there under the Major League Baseball emblem, the copyright information. The Griffey Air card does not feature that copyright information, and the card's worth like $300, $400, $500 more than the regular Griffey. 1990 Upper Deck, good stuff. Love that Boggs card. Just a cool card. Back in the day, this was cutting edge. That is our pack rip for today, 1990 Upper Deck. We'll do it again tomorrow, 12 Eastern, right here on the Better Sports Network. Have a great Memorial Day.